you ever have to come over here, or is most of your work film wise everywhere but the States?
Well, so I lived in LA for 10 years. I moved,
Oh, cool.
yeah. I moved to LA when I was 19, actually. And
No way.
I moved back to the UK after COVID. But ironically, when I was living in the States, all of my movies were filming in Europe. And I've been back here, I literally got back a few weeks ago and I just shot two films in the US. So it's
Look at that. Free vacation, if you want to visit your friends back in LA, they ship you
exactly.
back or vice versa. So that's a good way to
Yes,
travel.
yeah, but the films I just shot, one was in Kansas City, Missouri, and the other one was
Oof.
in Mexico. So you get to see
Yeah.
all of America.
That's really cool. So this is gonna be
Yeah.
a lot of fun. No, the reason I was saying it is so hot. I'm in New Jersey, and it is so hot. This summer's been brutal. Is it
Oh,
ever like that in London? Is it ever like, oh, it's too hot?
it's not as bad as New York, right? I've lived in
Really?
New York.
Okay.
It's just so extreme. Extreme winters,
Yeah.
extreme summers. No, London isn't as bad, I have to say. It's
So cool. What I love to obviously talk about people's credits and things like that, but I love finding out how it all began.
sure.
So what was when you're growing up, what made you think about this field? This is like the craziest job to try to go into because there's how many people going for one job on one movie when people go out for like a regular job.
Yeah.
There's a lot of those same regular jobs out there.
Yeah.
So what was it when you were younger that made you foray into acting?
There was never a defining moment. Like, I was like, oh, I need to be an actress. It was not like, I hear lots of actors, filmmakers say, oh, I watched something or on stage or in a film. It was more like a progressive thing, really. Like, so I suffer from autism. So growing up as a kid on the spectrum and also suffering from dyslexia was tough for me. So
Wow, that's tough.
yeah, I never really enjoyed school, to be honest. So especially the academics of English, maths, and horrible. I hated it. But then when I
Yeah.
first stood into the classroom of my drama class, it was the first thing that really made sense to me. It was like, okay, I get this. This is something that I love and I think I'm good at, and it just felt good and it felt like something I connected to, which I never really had before. So, and then after I finished school, I wanted to go to drama school. So I went to drama school here in the UK, and then literally when I was 19, someone said to me, "You want to be an actress, Charlotte? Go to the US." So I was like, "Okay, sure." So packed up my
Oh
bags.
my god.
That was that. Yeah.
That's crazy. So did that help with your dyslexia? Because did you tell people growing up? Like that's a hard thing to tell people. Like, hey, things are jumbled. I helped an actor. He's a big time character actor. He stopped acting like the last 10 years. But Larry Hankin, he was dyslexic. So he like still even up until it's not something that you grew out of. You learn to live with, and he was working on Breaking Bad, and he couldn't do a full page. He couldn't remember it because there were so many different
Oh,
words and things were jumbled together. But luckily, with the magic in movie making, you can do so many different cuts, like while he's walking, to make it seem like wow, he's reciting this big
um,
speech.
well, no, actually, it's different for me. I find memorizing lines easy. I
Oh, it
think,
is okay.
yeah, there's different kinds of like. Obviously, there's on being on the spectrum, being autistic, and then there's dyslexia. So a lot of autistic people on the spectrum are have an extraordinary mind. So things that we might lack in certain areas, we make up for in others. So
Yeah.
I think I've got a good photographic memory. Um,
Nice.
but again, but also at the same time, it's difficult for me to. I'm a slow reader, so to read scripts are slow. We get words and letters round the wrong way. It's a challenge. There's pros and cons, but
Yeah.
I was talking to someone yesterday who's on the spectrum and who's a filmmaker, and it's like I wouldn't change it for the world because I think it's what makes me different, and I don't think I would have taken the risks that I'd taken if I wasn't who I am, you know?
Yeah. Hey, you're wired a certain way, and yeah, if you change any little
Yeah,
thing, you might not be who you are today. No, I agree with that.
yeah,
No, it's it's just fascinating. Like they're like my wife recently. My wife found out that just from I think it was during COVID, she was like really noticing things she did, and she figured out that she had like ADHD and like all these different things that you don't realize because we're a little bit older than you, but like even in '92, I bet growing up, it was just like, come on, just
yeah,
you'll learn how to do that, or you'll figure it out. When more it was like maybe they can't figure it out because
yeah,
there's
yeah, of course.
some extra help they need, or guidance, or education on
Yeah,
something.
a different way of learning, a different way of learning. I like to see as opposed
Yeah,
to hear. And yeah, back in the day, if you were undiagnosed, they'll just stick you at the back of the class and say you don't want to learn,
yep,
you're stupid, and that's that. But it's got so much
yeah,
better today. But I think a lot of creatives are different, are special, shall we
yeah,
say?
yeah.
You know,
No, well, to put yourself out there, like on stage and even screen,
hmm
it's something to be out there because it's you. Even if we were
yeah,
on with an ensemble cast, like when you're reciting your line, everybody's looking at you. So
yeah,
you're 19, which is wow. To come out to LA, what
yeah.
were your parents thinking about that change? Because even you said it's not something you were really even thinking about until somebody said, "Hey, you want to try acting?" What was it at that point? They're like, "Whoa, we never knew about this acting thing, and you're gonna go, across the world."
They were very supportive. They
Awesome.
let me, yeah, they just said, look, if this is what you want to do, try it. We're totally here to support you. We'll be here. We're not coming with you. We're not going to hold your
Yeah,
hand,
yeah,
but you do what you need to do. They're pretty chilled. So I was like, great, okay. So sorry, my pillow just fell off.
no
So
worries, you're good.
yeah, so that was, and then I went to New York first. I was there for 6 months. And then I started realizing all the castings and meetings and everything was LA. So then I subsequently moved to LA. And yeah, I was there for a good 10 years.
Wow. So in New York, what were you doing? Just like you said, just trying to take meetings and things like that. Were you doing acting school, or are you thinking about
Yeah,
like
actually, I went to
school, or?
I went to so I did drama school in the UK, and then I
Oh, okay.
do some bats in New York, and then when I went to LA, I went to Lee Strasberg and Judith
Oh,
Weston
wow.
and all this stuff. So I always like to continue working, trying out new things, especially back then, testing what works for me, the creative method.
Yeah. And those are some different methods. Like I'm sure there's people that are coming up like that. Maybe that'll be a method that people always use, but some of those, especially Strasbourg, that's like there'd be a whole class like you're snoring or sleeping and doing these different quirks.
Yeah,
No.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
everything usually. A lot of the acting techniques come from the two foundations of Stanislavski and Meisner.
Yep.
Stanislavski, and then you just as an actor as you go along, you just take what works for you, And every
Yeah.
project you learn more, I've learned recently just kind of to let it go and trust myself and go with my gut, and I think that's ultimately, you just do whatever works for you.
Yeah. Wow. So you're out in LA, you're 19, 20-ish. What was the first steps from there? Just still same thing, taking meetings, or you're already like,
Yeah, yeah,
just I want to get my feet wet.
yeah, taking meetings, going to auditions, and it was being there for quite a long time. I managed to get some roles, some smaller roles, some bigger roles, and just like before my company, just being in the LA for that period of time as an actress, I was lucky enough to work with Bruce Willis uh,
Yeah.
in Vice, and
What a awesome! I rewatched that last night. I saw it because that was like again. There's all these booms like in movies. Like the '80s were like the box office. The '90s were like the TV movie. But I would say like that late 2010s like the late 2000s, 2010s. That was like the Red Box, and like
Yeah.
those type of movies, like it was like straight to DVD in a sense. But that movie was so good. Like it has
Yeah,
like
no,
Thomas Jane's are in, Jonathan Skake, who was married to Christina Applegate in the 90s. So you have all
yeah,
these different people, and you're
yeah,
like, you expect like intensity in a movie, but I almost forgot how intense it was. Like
yeah,
your scene, that is like
yeah,
horrific.
yeah, it was. Um, and that, I was still pretty green when I shot that. I was still
That's 2015 it
figuring.
came out, so that's still like you're probably 21 or 22, which is wild.
I know. I was exactly, and that was. Was it before or after? Like my first main leading role, I would say, was No Panic with a Hint of Hysteria, which was a full farce comedy with Stephen Baldwin, who was absolutely great. Um,
Oh, nice.
Great Polish filmmakers came to LA to cast it, and they actually found me at Judith Weston um, on stage there, and yeah, it was amazing. It was so much fun shooting in Warsaw in January, absolutely freezing. Um, yeah, and it was like my first real kind of experience of. So it was like, okay, working with Bruce Willis, which was absolutely incredible, and then okay, no, and then after that, taking a leap into, a carrying, co-starring, carrying a movie for the first time, comedy, which is not easy to do, a fast comedy.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was really really cool, and then I was lucky enough to do smaller roles in big movies like Ocean's 8 and How to Be Single. And then really it was just before COVID when I was like, okay, so, you know, getting the roles, I know what roles I want to play. And I know how difficult it is to get those roles, the competition and the opportunity, the lack of opportunities. But then finding a good script is even harder. So finding a script is one thing. Finding a good script with a good female character is even more difficult.
Yes.
So I'm going to try and create my own. I feel like that's the only way. I want to put my destiny in my own hands and not have to rely on anyone or wait for anyone. And at that time, that's when I met Neil, and me and Neil Marshall kind of partnered together. And I mean, Duchess now would have been our full film that we've made together.
Yeah.
The
That's
first one
wild.
was The Reckoning that we shot. That came out during COVID, so it's just before COVID, and it was straight up horror, and it was really interesting because it was my first time writing and producing. Neil's obviously a very well established horror writer, director, but it was a great combination because everyone asked me, "Well, how was it writing with him?" But it was a great combination, a great balance. But he was coming at it as a very experienced writer director, and I was coming at it from, okay, I'm an actress, and this is how I would see this, and it was great. It was really really, we worked really well together.
That's
Um,
awesome.
and yeah, The Reckoning is I was very proud of it. It was very scary at the time because I was producing it, and it was all very new to me. It was like, okay, let's go for it. I have, this is
But the
what.
fact that you did that, like I've heard of people, I've talked to a few people that the same scenario you're talking about, like, hey, I want to play a certain role, or
Yeah,
like DB Sweeney in like the 80s when he was in acting school in New York, he just like couldn't get into the plays that he wanted to,
yeah,
so he wrote one, and he got this dumpy theater,
yeah.
and he put signs everywhere on every telephone pole. Somebody came in out of like the 10, 15 people. One guy just happened to be the right person to see him, and then he got cast in all these movies. So it's like, it's
Yeah.
cool that you thought about that, because it's like always, sometimes you get to 40, 50 years old and you're like, man, I wish I would have done blank when I was younger. So it's so great that early in your career you thought, okay, I love these roles that I'm getting. Like you said, like these are like big picture movies. So at least while you're on set and
Exactly.
working, you could see how everything goes, see how everything works,
Exactly.
and you learn what to do, what not to do, like what you wouldn't do as a lead. You see
Yep.
another lead maybe blow people, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
cool that at that point you're like, I'm gonna do this. So what was the time frame from you having that idea to that movie like being like 2020? Because that's a big thing to take on without having that writing experience.
Well, because Neil had been very successful in
That's true,
horror
yeah.
and writing, so I think that helped him, a
But still
lot.
to have the confidence to do it,
Yeah.
because that is a process, like working with someone else on anything, but to write, that is something that it's a great collaborative experience.
It was amazing, um, and I kind of come up with some pretty good ideas because it was great in regards he was stuck. He was like, I just can't get through. Like, okay, so it's the reckoning. It's about a witch, but I just don't want to really. I don't know about the witch movie. I don't want to make it hocus pocusy. And I was like, what if there's no witches? And I was like, that's it. The light bulb went on. It's like this is where the actor director contrast comes in very well. Um, and then after that film that came out during COVID, went to cinemas, it won some awards. It was like I'm really really proud of that film, like my first film, and again coming out during COVID, which was a challenge. But yeah, RLJ,
Oh yeah.
Charlotte, they were great. And then during COVID, me and Neil were like, okay, so we want to make a film during COVID. What can we do? Let's make, home invasion, very small cast, one location, COVID friendly. Unfortunately, Neil can't write low budget horror movies, low budget anything. So then it turned out to be a epic monster movie set in Afghanistan, about a British fighter pilot that gets shot down by insurgents and has to literally save the whole. Well, I don't want to give anything away. But, well, it's out anyway, so you
Yeah.
can see it. But so we shot that during COVID. And I don't. It was just one of those things where it was tough because there was lots of COVID restrictions, but we got a great cast for that. And again, that was like completely different, right? So The Reckoning was a period horror. I had to learn how to sword fight for the first. I've never done that before. I had to learn how to ride a horse. So that was one thing. And then The Lair was even more challenging because I had to learn how to fire an AK-47. I never held a gun before in my life. I was like, okay, I did look like I was a badass British fighter pilot.
Yeah.
And then,
It was believable. I watched the movie and
oh,
I thought
thank
the action right there was so, it was
you.
really cool. There were some really like challenging things especially being your first time doing a lot. I'm sure you did some stunts in The Reckoning and other movies, but when you
Yeah.
have the guy on you and you're rolling with him and you have the gun in the other, like that's pretty badass.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And I think, I mean, it's pretty. Yeah, you're right. It's like full of action, really. I mean, there is action.
Oh
in
yeah, the opening movie, you would think if you just watched that beginning of the movie, if that was a trailer, you would think you're watching like a lone survivor, like kind of like female driven like army
Yeah.
movie. But it's
Yeah.
cool that it's like kind of like a. That's why sometimes it's good to go into a movie when you don't see the trailer and don't know
Yeah.
what the
Yeah.
full movie is about,
Yeah.
because you have that. Like that would have blown me away if I didn't read about or watch the trailer,
Yeah.
because how much it changes when you go in to the door that's open and then it's like, all right, well that's wild. Like
It's
you survive something like that, and it's like, oh, what's next?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then all these amazing, other ensemble characters come into it, and who are great, and yeah, I'm really proud of that one as well. But then this is the thing. So we made The Reckoning and The Lair, both horror films, and then me and Neil were like, what are we gonna do next? And then we were sitting there one day and it's like, it'd be amazing to make like gangster movie, like the great 80s, the Goodfellas, the Scarface, the Layer Cake, Lock Stock. I haven't seen a good gangster movie in quite some time, really. But what about if it was a female Don? I haven't seen that before. We wrote Duchess before, Queen of the South, before any of this came, all these other films and TV shows came along. I mean, we wrote it in 2018 and shot it in 2022, so it's quite some time in the making.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. I mean, some people, one studio said, "Oh, we'll buy the script off you, but you know, we'd want to make it for a lot more. We'd want to control it. We'd probably want Charlize Theron to play the lead." I'm like, "Well, that's not going to happen. I'd rather make it for nothing and do it ourselves." Like, you know, no, this was our baby. You know, this was, and I think it shows. You know, I'm really, really proud of it. I'm really, really proud of this one. It's. A lot of people ask me, "Oh, what about like, what genre do you like? Do you like?" I like all genres. It's not really about the genre. It's about the story and the character. That's it. And with Duchess, I just felt it was so character driven. You know, she's just like this. And what I like about Neil's writing, we co-wrote it, but he likes to write regular, normal people in extraordinary circumstances. So she's
I
not
love
like,
that. It's my favorite
yeah,
genre.
exactly. She's not a
Yeah.
spy or a superhero. She's just a regular girl who, well, you know, she's she's a petty thief from southeast London, a bit rough around the edges. She's a boxer, and she meets this guy, and they fall in love. But he's the head of a cartel, and I don't want to give any spoilers, but it's about love and betrayal and power, and ultimately she ends up taking over that. So that's what I find exciting about it, because I get it, it's sold as an action film, which is great, but it's not just an action film. You know, it's got layers and substance. It's got something to say. You know, and I think it's disguised as an action gangster film, but it's a lot more than that.
Yeah. Great trailer. And that comes out August 9th, right?
August 9th, yeah. The premiere is August 6th. Love for you to come, but I hear you're in Jersey, right? Because it's in LA.
Yeah.
It's in LA on August 6th.
Oh, it's going to be in LA? Oh, that's cool. Awesome.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, I'm so excited. I'm so happy.
Were you able to do these for your other movies? The reason I asked is with COVID, obviously I'm guessing The Reckoning, that was during
Yeah, you know, so like
COVID, so you couldn't do that.
Yeah, so many great festivals for The Reckoning that we missed. They were virtual, like Fantasia and Fright Fest. We missed them all, which sucked. It was really bad. The Lair, we went to Fright Fest. We opened Fright Fest. That was super cool. Duchess, we haven't really done any festivals yet, to be honest. I mean, it's not horror, so you know, there's it's slightly more difficult. But we're actually submitting Compulsion, our next film that's coming out next year, which is more horror. We're gonna, you know, that's going into a few festivals. So, but yeah, so Duchess comes out August 9th.
Wow,
really.
that's cool.
So,
No, the trailer looks awesome. I feel like Saban Films is like the new. I don't even know what studio it's related to, like in the 90s or 2000s, but they have a lot of like really decent, awesome movies coming out.
when? Sorry.
Oh, Saban Films.
Oh, Saban.
Saban. Oh,
Saban.
is that how you say it?
Yes, but Saban.
Oh my god, I've said that wrong
No,
my
it's
whole
okay.
life.
Yeah, Saban. No, because there's another.
Because they did
studio.
like Power Rangers and they did all of those shows in the 90s, right?
Okay,
Same.
Exactly. Yeah, it's very
Pretty wild.
Story, Saban and Power Rangers, exactly. I'm so happy. I think they're a great home for it. It's actually being released here in the UK on the 12th, so quite soon afterwards. And Russia are doing a big release on it as well. They love the film.
Nice.
I'm so excited about it. I think it's a lot of love, and it was, you know, stress as always when making a film goes into this, and a lot of fun, and I think that shows, especially the fun. You know, as I said, it was tough to make. We shot it during COVID, well, just after COVID, but I had COVID during filming. Neil got COVID during.
Oh man,
it was very, very, very challenging shoot, but it overcome, and it's here now. Come what may, it overcame many things.
Yep, you made it. So, what on the producing side? What are some of the things that do you enjoy doing on the producing side?
Honestly, not that much.
Not that much.
No, it's kind of. I mean, it's nice to like have the control to have a project and see it from start to finish, see it from the development of the script and then right, you know, from the release of the film. I love all that. that's nice. But the whole day to day and the logistics and the numbers and ugh, that's the stuff that I hate and that bores me. That's my, to the team. No, that's not my. I just do it out of necessity, really, to make the films that I want to make and to have
That's
to have
awesome.
the role that I want to have. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
But, you know, when I'm an actress, it's very important. Like when I'm an actress, I'm on set. That's it. I'm not producer. Like that's I'm the actress, and the director's the director, and that's that. It's just, you know, I like to come in, hand it over to who needs to do it, and then do my job as an actor. You know.
Yeah. So, I have you ever worked with anyone that was acting and directing on the same film? I think that I don't know how people do that.
No, you know, so I just finished a film. So I said about the 2 films I just finished in the US. I just finished shooting with Dolph Lundgren, who is amazing.
Nice.
Right. And Dolph actually directed and acted in a film, and I was like, how did you do that? It's like mental. I don't even know how you'd even do that. It's like, that's talent beyond belief. But yeah, that's really cool. So that's coming out next year with Saban. Saban picked that up as well.
Look at that.
Yeah, it's so cool. It's called Fight or Flight. That literally is a full-on action film, you know, about assassins and all the good stuff. You know, it does what it says on the tin. Lots of action.
Yeah.
You know, Dolph and Michael J. White. It's a real fun one.
Oh, nice. That is cool.
Yeah.
So it's kind of crazy, like when you think about when you moved here at 19. So that's like 2011, and then just think that's not that far after. And like, look at the, like, not the niche that you carved, but like you got to the point that you're making movies that you want to make for yourself. But along the way, what were some of the, even though I know there weren't like big roles that you're probably not on set for some of them, not too long, but like you have like a role in like Nonstop, the Liam Neeson movie.
Yeah.
And that was like early on. Even your first credit is Fractured, which is like,
Yeah. It's true.
You're getting a big movie. It's not like it's like a TV movie. Like, not knocking like people's first credits or anything, but it's cool that it's like on an actual film with a budget, and you get to like see how movies are made right from the jump.
Yeah, and I think that was a big part of it. A big part of where I am today is surrounding myself with people that are where I want to be. People that are making movies, producing movies, directing movies, and learning from that. I think that you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly right. I was surrounded by people that helped me a lot and educated me and guided me on where I need to go and what I need to be doing. But also just surrounding yourself with, great creatives, like great filmmakers. Having Neil as my business partner for 4 movies, and then collaborating now with other filmmakers. That's the key thing. It's a collaborative experience, whichever project you work with. But you're right, exactly. So I love tangent a bit, but yeah, you're right. It's all about you're right. At the beginning, I never looked at it that way. At the beginning, the credits were quite big, considering. I just fresh off.
I just think it's always great when it's like anything, whenever you go out for something, again, this is something you want to do and you were born to do it. And like, it's not an easy thing. So just for you to make that leap, it's not like you lived in LA and were like, I'm going to go down the street, try this thing. If it doesn't work, I'll do something else. You uprooted yourself, which is not easy. Most people don't do that. Most people stay in their hometown their whole life. So it is just to put yourself out there like that, but to be able to start your career off, that's why, right?
That's why, because if it was easy, if you just said, just go down the street, see what happens, then
totally.
If failure is an option, it's probably going to happen. If failure isn't an option, it's not going to happen. Like I don't believe in having a plan B, or I didn't have a plan B, or not. I didn't think twice. I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to go to the States. I'm doing it. I'll see what happens. But I was like, I'm going to do it. And that's it.
Yeah. I think the people that are still in the industry, I'm sure there's people that maybe like they're in it for a few years and you might ask them that question. It's like, oh, how long have you been doing this? Oh, a year or two. Maybe they're not going to be there in 5 or 10 or 15 or 20. But I feel like you have to have that mindset that there's no plan B, because as soon as you think of that, maybe like your choices in an audition or a scene might, You won't. You're basically you want to give it all in
Yeah.
that moment because
Yeah.
you never know if there's going to be another take, right?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. You've got to be all in, 100%. I think if you've got something to fall back on, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, it's the easy way. It's just, yeah, you've got to be all in. You can't have any backup. For me, anyway. For me, anyway.
Yeah. No, I think it's a lot of people I talk to when I talk about this. It's always that whether it's the guy who is the voice of, well, now he's the voice of Bert on Sesame Street, but he's been a puppeteer for
Oh,
Jim Henson for a long time. And
amazing.
his thing was he knew, I should know his name, Kevin something. He was the voice of Elmo. And then he like went down, did something for like a day. And then the guy's like, "Are you going to go back home?" And he's like, "No, can I just stay on your couch? Because I think then something's going to happen." And he like stayed on this guy's couch, like trying to find odds and ends jobs for like 3 weeks. And like an opening happened and he was there when they called because if you went back home, it would, I think so many people have those stories. Like
Yeah.
I would watch, that's
Go,
why I
get
love
out.
asking that question.
Yeah. Just go, get
Because
out of my system, then see what
heck
happens.
yeah.
Yeah, it's just like you can't like this is like an all or nothing thing, you know. It's a creative thing. You can't just like half paint the Mona Lisa, right? Or half. It's
Yeah.
you gotta do it and love it, and it's so difficult. If you don't love it, do something else. It's not worth the pain
Yeah.
and the heartache, or it's just not worth it. Just it's so difficult if you can't live and breathe it all day every day, then really there's just you shouldn't be doing it. You really shouldn't.
No, agreed. And because people will know that. Like the casting director, producer, director, they'll know like, this person's not really, they're not giving it at all. And that's what you see, like, there's like the genre of like the people of yesteryear. Not like some actors that are still putting it in, but like when you put on a movie and it's like they seem like they're like reading their lines off of a wall. Or they're
Or
just like, I just need to go back to my trailer, like as fast as I can. And
yeah,
you can like you notice that. Like
yeah,
when you watch those films.
you do, and the energy on set. That's why I think it's so important to have that good energy and chemistry on set. 'Cause it shows. It shows.
Yeah.
That's why, like with Duchess, it shows that we all had. Yeah, it was tough making it, but it shows that it was the love and the passion and the dedication that went into it. It really does. It does show, 100%. The
Yeah, I
camera
can't wait to see
never
that movie.
lies. Yeah,
What was that?
I said the camera never lies.
Oh no, you're right. No, I can't wait to see Duchess because the trailer is just so good. It is like the way it was put together. Were you involved in the process of that? Like,
No. Saban
no,
did that. I thought
they
they
do
did a
that. Yeah,
big
it
job.
was
Yeah,
good.
yeah, so good. It gives enough away, but not too much.
Yeah.
Not much.
So another movie that you were in, again, you had like a small role in it, but another like Bruce Willis movie, but another really good movie that I think more people should see is Marauders. That's an
Marauders, yeah.
awesome movie.
It is
Him
good.
and Christopher Maloney is a really good thing that you would never think of those two because you think of Maloney, SVU,
Yeah.
and not really too many movie roles, and you think of Bruce, like what he is, and it's like you have these guys that, again, one of those perfectly written genre of we're going to have the big name guy like a Bruce Willis, but we're not going to use him too much because of the cost of it, but they use him in the perfect way, I think.
Yes. That's the beauty about producing when you get a great producer that's like, okay, we've got this big star, we've got him this many days, how can you get the most out of him for the time we have him? And yeah, you're right, that was brilliantly executed on that. Yeah, that was a great film. You're right.
Yeah.
It
No,
was.
it's really cool. How the masks are very sinister looking, and Maloney's great in it. No, just an awesome cast. But no, I think
Yeah.
that's an art of producing like that.
Yeah.
Those budgets of films. Like I talked to a guy that did a very low budget movie. I can't think the name of it. And I feel bad, but Eric Roberts, who I interviewed, was in it, and Eric told. After I talked to Eric Roberts, the guy reached out to me and said, "Oh, I saw you talk to Eric. Would you want to watch my movie?" So I watched it. And then I talked to the guy afterwards, and he only used Eric for like a half a day. But when you watch the movie,
It looks like
you
the
would
whole
just
film.
think he was, yeah, you would, it was so smart his character was basically like a guy pulling the strings for everything, which they outline throughout the movie. But
Yeah.
it is so cool, and I'm like, wow, you really, because some other movies you're like, wait, he's in that movie, and it's like one scene of him like, and you're
Yeah.
like, wait, that it's not even an impactful scene that you're
Yeah.
using this big name for. So I think obviously there's restrictions of budgets, but it's also like, how do you use that money
Yeah.
to use that name that you're going to put on the poster so people
Yeah.
know that, oh, okay, this is a movie that they're in.
100%. That is so
It's
true.
a hard thing.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And especially now, it's getting more difficult because people are knowing that, oh, you've only got it for a few days. Okay, so, they
Yeah.
need to be in it for this amount of time for it to work.
Yeah. Do you know the first time, like, looking back, like, again, it's not like you've been doing this for a long, long time. Usually I'm talking to people in, like, 80s and 90s, but still, it's been 13 years since you arrived in the States. Do you remember a point, even though this is something that you wanted to do, that you felt like, I can really do this? Like, for, like, long-term wise. I know there was no plan B, but was there when you got a role in a certain movie or something that you're like, all right, this is my life? Or was it always your life?
No, I would say, like, when I guess, gained more confidence is when I did The Reckoning, because I realised then I don't have to rely on anyone else. Like, I don't have to wait for the phone to ring, rely on auditions, wait for someone to hire me. I can produce and write good enough that I can create my own movies. So worst case scenario, if I don't get another job, I can make my own movies. I think that was the time when I realised that.
That's awesome. How did you take that as being like the number one on the call sheet? Was that like a significant change? Not like the way you acted. It's not like they move your name up and you're like acting different or something, but there's gotta be some like certain responsibilities that you feel.
Yeah, I mean, looking back on it now, but I don't like to think like that. Like that would just
Yeah.
extreme anxiety, like the pressure. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
I'm very like, no, I couldn't even think of that. I'm number one on the call sheet. I've got this horrible, this crazy, huge responsibility. No, I couldn't think like that. I was just,
Yeah.
I didn't look at the call sheet. I looked at the call sheet, but down. Okay, what are the scenes for the day, and that's it. I don't want to know about anything else. I don't want to see all the time limits we have or 12-hour days, French hours. No, I was. But looking back on it now, that is true. That is true. You have a huge responsibility. 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, but especially number one on the call sheet. Yeah.
Yeah. No, anytime I think you're a principal, it's like very key for just the whole rest of the cast, because like you said, it's a huge collaboration.
Yeah.
But it's almost like the boss is that person or the director. So it's like if they're setting a good example, if they're on time and they're ready for the shot, they're acting professional, everybody else can act professional. Yeah. So again, for you and me thinking about that, it's like, well, why wouldn't I act like that? But it's like there's so many, and there's reasons that why people do it that make sense, that don't make sense. But no, I think that's just so fascinating how quick that happened in your career. So did you ever keep mementos? Did you ever think of that? Obviously, like, of the time you started, there was like cell phones and cameras on phones, so you take pictures of things. But did you ever keep like for scripts or anything?
I always try and take a prop. I always try and take something.
Oh, that I like that.
Always, like in The Reckoning, where I played a fighter pilot. I took my dog tag.
It's cool.
The Reckoning, I took
a sword.
I wish. Couldn't get that on the plane. Oh, I took my necklace that was symbolic with the cross. Small things that I could just take in my pocket, and maybe the costume wouldn't know. No, I would always ask.
Yeah, right.
But I always take something, and always usually some kind of costume, and you never know. It could be worth a lot of money one day. You never know.
Yes, and it's just a cool keepsake to have. Like,
it's so cool.
Yeah, especially not something that's like huge. You don't want to be like, here's the chair from the scene in this movie.
No, it's got to be something personal and something that I carried with me throughout the film.
Yeah.
But I always like to take something, store them away.
That's great
for a rainy day.
Yeah. No, I always love asking that question because you never have like that, like the wherewithal, even as like a kid. Like I always see like I'm sure it's been written in books and it's like an old quote, but you never know like that last time that the neighborhood, you and your friends in the neighborhood will like get together, play hide and go seek or
Yeah.
something. You never like, there's never like that time when it's like, or your high school friends like, hey guys, this is gonna be the last time we hang out. Like
Yeah.
you never say that. It just happens. Just like when you work on a movie, it's not like you're thinking like, okay, I'm gonna take something because people just don't think of it. There's so much going on. You're on set. You're like, oh my god, where do I look? Where do I keep my hands? And then you leave, and you're like, I don't have anything.
No, the last day it's always bittersweet, and I'm like, oh my god, I have to take something. You take your costume
That's
off.
awesome.
The last time you're like, oh my god, I need to take something. I need to remember something of this beautiful memory. Yeah. Very-
No, that's cool that you do that, and I love that. I think it's just such a cool thing that people do that. I always love the answers because they're always random. Like this one guy worked on the first season of The Shield. He was the director of photography, and he took like the like an airplane that Michael Chiklis like throws
Pretty
or a
cool.
matchbook. I forgot what it was. It was in the last shot, and he was like, "I'm gonna take." So he like had that on his desk when we were talking. I'm like, that's so
That's
cool.
good.
There are always like these random things from movies that people work
Yeah.
on, like Blade Runner. All those guys were taking the set pieces. The one guy used it as a doorstop. Like these like
Anything
silly,
from that.
yeah.
Take
Just from any movie you get a chance to, because it's an experience when you're on set. It's like going to camp. You're with these people for 3-4 months. You form friendships. You become like a family because no one else is close, right?
you so become a family, and then you just become so close. Then whew, it's finished so quickly. Then you're on to the next
Yeah.
one. It's, yeah, it's sad.
And then you see him in 10 years and you're like, oh my gosh, I remember you from Nonstop or whatever movie you're on.
What
you know?
happened? What happened?
Yeah.
Where did the time go? I know, it's crazy. I always love to say it's so important. But memories,
Yeah.
you
Good
know.
memories to have. And then obviously you have the memories of the film forever. You have the film or the project that you worked on. So throughout your career, was there like obviously doing stunts like I don't know if you would have went back in time and told yourself in 2011 like, hey, you're gonna be this badass and you're gonna be shooting guns, swinging swords. But when was the first time that you did like stunts on set? Like for Tekken, did you do anything? Were you fighting in that movie?
I was a little bit, but to be honest, like I would say The Reckoning was the first time where it was like, okay,
Really? Oh my gosh.
learn to horse ride, learn.
That
to,
was everything. That is like your moment.
yeah,
Like that movie because the writing, producing, like riding a horse, sword.
Every-
That's
everything. Yeah, Tekken, like all the other films, there were smaller things that I had to learn. You know, learning a few steps, a few beats, but not like to the extent that I like choreographing a whole scene, like a dance, like a fight scene, and learning a new skill. I think it would terrify me if I was told my 19-year-old self this is what I'd be doing, you know. And then by bit, like every movie's different. Every movie you've got a chance to start over and be better. And obviously you take your skills, what you learned from the previous one, onto the next one, so you just get better.
yeah, no.
But yeah, The Reckoning. It's crazy, huh?
That's the moment, yeah. But no,
Yeah.
female-driven action movies. It's just a genre that should just be. There should be more of it. There should just be revenge movies. Like they have them every so many years, and they're like good. And then it's like, all right, where's more? And then there's not more. But then there's like, the male-driven ones. Like, all right, we've seen the same story over and over again. Like, all right, the guy loses his family, and there's just not anything different for like the female. Like
Well-
Peppermint was really good.
Well, yeah. Well, that was.
It wasn't like a great movie, but I'm saying like it was like to see.
For a woman, the woman.
Yes, for a woman-driven movie, yeah.
That was, I think, like a big inspiration for this film, for Duchess, was Man on Fire, right? So
Oh, nice, yeah.
build up, so you get to know and love and care about the characters. So when something happens, you actually care. I think Peppermint, something happened in the first 2 minutes, like 5 minutes. It's like, really?
Yeah, no, it was rushed. No, it definitely was. But
You
to
gotta-
see her in that light, I think sometimes when you see an actress or an actor in a different kind of role, because now I just think of her in the Capital One, and I know she did like action. She did that action series in like the '90s, the Alias, I think,
Yeah.
in the 2000s. But mostly like comedy, silly like rom coms. So
Yeah.
it's different to see her in that type of role. But no, it's good to. It's just such a great genre that's like sort of untapped. So it's cool that that movie is going to be coming out next month.
Yes, I'm so excited about that one because I think it's a long time. It's been a while. As you said, Peppermint and a few others, but not many at all.
No, no, not at all. Now, one I have to ask about, but it's in pre-production. But like the Juice, did that start filming at all, or just still
No,
in
not
those
half of it.
stages?
We shot half of
You
it
did?
already. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, because half the film is about Nicole and OJ, and the other half is telling their story. So we shot half of it, and then COVID happened, and then the strike happened, and all that stuff. So,
Oh, so when did this start? This started. Oh, you filmed this like in 2019,
yes,
2020?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wow,
In a minute. Yeah, I know, crazy.
that is
That's a
crazy.
whole,
Because
that's a whole other chapter.
obviously you do look like her. Like, so I don't know if how did that come about? Did you open casting, or did somebody say, "Hey, I saw this girl in this movie and she looks just like Nicole Brown"?
The director saw me on stage when I was on performing something in LA, and he saw me on stage, and he was actually writing the script during that time. He said, "Wow, you remind me of someone. Oh my God, you remind me of Nicole Brown Simpson. You look like Nicole Brown Simpson." And I was kind of heavily involved in the process of that and the development of that, and that was quite something. I mean, it was OJ knew about it. He wanted me to go and visit him in prison. He wanted to be part of it and narrate it. I know it was quite something, but it was amazing. Boris Kojo played OJ. He was amazing, and yeah, the way it was that again, that was another challenge, right? Because the responsibility of really playing a real life person and her in particular. So yeah, that was
No, it's got to be difficult. Was it what kind of research, or did they do that for you? Did,
no,
like,
I did
were you,
so,
no, I'm
so
not
much.
saying you didn't do any research. I mean, like talking with the family. Like, is that something that you did?
Not on this project in particular. 'Cause it's
Okay.
very, very, very sensitive
No, it
matter.
is. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, the script is very in depth, and talking to the director and the producers, and reading many books on the topic, and the trial,
Yeah.
and all of that. There's a lot of
It's got to
stuff.
be. It's just hard to play
Yeah.
someone's got to be hard. I talked to an actress that played Anna Nicole Smith, and it's like
Wow.
it's
Yeah.
so like Nicole Brown. Like obviously there was like video and
Not
like
much.
home videos and stuff of her, but not
Yeah.
as much as like
Yeah.
nowadays. You can like there's just like almost like too much. It's just to play an actual person. That's like such a responsibility. But that's cool that you took the time to like read the books and learn about her and.
Oh my God. Especially
Ugh.
that who's a victim and no longer with us. And yeah, so that was a challenging one for me, for sure. But amazing. Again, amazing experience, but very different. Not so much, there's no action in that one, but challenging in other ways.
Oh yeah, yeah. To be able just to, because there's only like, especially with all the different teachings that you did when you were like in New York and L.A. There's just so many routes that people can go. Like when you're looking for any role, whether it's playing a real person or not, it can be like, hey, this person's stays at home by themselves all the time. They're a hermit. They don't talk to anybody. It's like, okay, cool. I got that. Or some people will be like, all right, let me call and try to find somebody to learn about them.
Yeah.
Like there's all these different ways of people like getting into a role. Now with her, was there anything with the voice? Like, did you listen to voice recordings
Oh
to
yeah,
try to do anything?
there was a couple of clips of her on YouTube, but again, not many at all. And of course, the famous
Yeah.
9 so listening to that on
No,
the.
yeah.
But again, when you play someone, you don't want to mimic them. You want to understand and as much as possible, but not mimic them. Because I don't think that's
Yeah.
have your own interpretation in a way, but do it as close as possible.
It's like a hard thing, right? Like I forgot what I just heard an interview with someone, and they were talking about the same thing that they were. Man, I wish I would have known what show it was. It was basically like a documentary, but like a real telling of it, like with the cast. And it was like, we're doing it like they did it, but we're doing it our own way. But it's so weird to think of it like that, because when you're watching things, sometimes you're like, oh, that person wouldn't act like that, or they don't look like in the Clippers documentary series that's on FX right now. Like, a lot of the players don't look like the real players that are in the NBA. But the story behind, I think it was Ed O'Neill, I think, was talking about it. So he was making the rounds doing interviews, and he was just talking about like how difficult it is to actually play. Like, in his case, he played a guy that turned out to be like a real skeezy kind of guy. But it's just like this weird fine line. Like, you can be too the same, and then it's like, oh, well, why don't you put your own spin on it? And it's like, oh, okay, then you put your own spin on it. Yeah, it's like nobody's ever happy, but it depends on, you know, how you like the product when it's. So hopefully it comes out next year. That'd be cool.
Yes, yes. I'm excited about that one. That's going to be. It's very, very different. Very, very different to the ones I've been doing. So yeah, hopefully next year on that one.
And it hasn't been done yet that I know. Maybe there was like a TV movie about them too, but I've never seen anything like it. So it should be.
It's a new one. Interesting. Very, very different. Very, very different, that one. Very different to the ones that I've done and the ones I have coming out. So, yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. No, to play a person like I forgot what the lady's name was that was in Florida. That the girl that threw her baby out the window. God, I should know her name. The crazy woman. God, it was like a big trial here in the States, and then.
Oh.
But anyway,
yes.
I should know her name. But I talked to an actress that played her in like a Lifetime special, and she really didn't have a lot of lines, but she had to like reenact her. So she was like doing a lot of research, and it just so happens the casting people, obviously they're doing their job. They casted like a baby that looked just like the baby.
Wow.
Like, that looked so similar, and it like. So her emotions, she's like, yeah, so those emotions in that scene, like, I was really, like, crying because it was, like, so, like, traumatic. And she's like, it wasn't even something I went through. It was a role that I was researching for a few months. So it's so hard to, so that's cool that you took that. That's a challenge. That's great that you, again, 8 years you're in the States, and an opportunity like that comes up, and you're just like, all right, I'll do it.
Yeah, I've got to do it. I've got to do it.
Yeah.
My motto is,
so how'd you...
something I did do than what I didn't do, you know?
Oh, exactly. No, that's a great mindset to have. So what made you get on stage? Was that just something you always wanted to do, or somebody recommended it to you?
Well, I've done stage, I've done theatre in the UK and in drama.
Oh, okay.
And then, yeah, I love stage. So obviously something completely different to being on set. Yeah, and I found a really cool little theatre in LA, and obviously Lee Strasberg in LA, and it's just exercising, working those muscles as well, you know. Very, very different, but I feel like if you can do stage, you can be on set all day long. It's a walk in the park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you get the instant gratification. I think that's what actors love, is when you say your line and they do what you say. The audience like reacts in the way that you wrote it or the way that you wanted them to feel. Obviously, you can get that on opening night. Yes. So when you're sitting there in LA for Duchess, you'll be able to see people and you're like, oh, that's what I wanted in that scene. Exactly. But again, that's months or years after you close out a project sometimes. But that's in the same sense, it's a difficult part too, because if you do something and it's like, oh wait, they didn't react the way I wanted to, but you know what's great? You can try again at the evening show or the next day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it is the most rewarding part, actually. You're right. Like the premiere in a few weeks, I'm so excited about, just to see the reactions and hearing them, and hopefully enjoying, laughing, maybe crying, and that's the really fun stuff. Apart from being on set, just getting the reaction from the audience. It's so cool. It's so rewarding. So rewarding.
Do you do that for your movies? Like non-premieres, do you go into the movie theater and maybe like throw a trench coat on, a hat, maybe like a fake mustache, and and sit there and watch the movie with the
Yes,
fans?
can you make sure you all laugh at this time? Oh, that's so funny. Oh, come on, guys. Yeah, I hope I won't have to do that on Duchess. I'm hoping not.
Yeah.
But so far, there's been a great response from the trailer. So,
Cool.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
hoping people are going to respond to the movie the same way.
No, totally. No, I think it's cool when actors or directors like go to the movies, just to go to like a random showing and see people react to their movie. I talked to this guy that directed like this ninja movie, Revenge of the Ninja, in the '80s, and he like went to like a random movie theater, I think in Brooklyn, and he was like leaving, and he saw these kids doing like ninja kicks outside, and he's like, "Oh my god,
That's
we
so
like it worked!"
that
Like
is so
our
cool.
yeah.
That's awesome. And like when people quote you, or oh, that is so cool. Just to get
Yeah.
any really, it doesn't really matter as long as you get an emotion. I think that's the main thing. You can get an emotion, whatever that is. You're hitting them where you got to get
Yeah.
them to react, and that's audiences today are quite desensitized because there's so much out there. There's so much content. You've got to really hit hard and go. And that was kind of the rule of Duchess. Go big or go home. Go as big and outrageous as possible. I think that's you got to, especially with this movie, this kind of subject, gangster movie. You've got to go all out. I think.
Yeah. No, you're right. There's like so much content now, which is kind of in one sense it's good because people can get their films out there, but in one sense it's like too much. So it's like this weird.
Exactly.
You don't know how to feel. Like no matter what, like it doesn't work out, whichever way you think about it sometimes. But no, it's gonna be really cool. This has been so much fun. Do you have what I always like to ask people too is obviously your keepsakes. I loved your answer on that. Like things you wear throughout a movie, which is really cool because it's part of you, part of your character. But like if you didn't do this at 19, if somebody didn't say, "Hey, do you want to pick up everything and go to the States?" What would you be doing right now? You think?
Two potential. Well, I love and adore animals. Like my in The Reckoning, one of the roles is Molly. That's named after our dog, Molly Pryor. She's a King Charles dog. I would definitely be rescuing dogs. Animals, I'm just kind of obsessed, and yes, they are. They are just, yeah. I'd be working with dogs. Something very, very different. Yeah. I can think about doing anything else. I don't know. Dogs or something creative, I guess. Something else creative or working with animals.
Yeah.
Rescuing dogs. And, yeah.
And then another, I haven't talked to too many people from England, but I wonder if when you're growing up, is it funny to do an American accent to make people like your friends laugh?
Yeah, like it's different. It's very different. Actually, in Duchess, the opening scene, I have an American accent. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you have to. It's got a little twist
Cool.
and turn, so you'll see.
Nice. All right.
Yeah. I always love doing an accent. It's always fun.
No, I know. It just as a kid, like here, it's like something British. It's like you try to do the most terrible, and I can't even do it at all. And I wouldn't even try because I'm now I'm nervous thinking about it. But like, I think it's so funny to think like, oh, here it's like, oh, let me try this like British accent. But I always wondered like, oh, in England, if you're growing up, is it like trying to do like an American accent because.
And you have to, it's just part of the training. You have to be able to do an American accent. So important. I love it. You have to work on it a bit more, and but it's necessary. I think in this day, a lot of films are about American stories, and especially when I was living in America, if that's what the role requires, But the Southern accent's always fun. I like the Southern accent.
Southern, yeah, no, Southern's good. It's so funny when you think about this. The United States, like, have so like people say I don't have like a where I live accent. Like when I lived in Oregon, people didn't think I was from New Jersey because I didn't say like water or coffee. Yeah. Like these weird like. And me and my wife, the same thing. We went to high school together in Central New Jersey, so I don't know, maybe like skipped over us or something. But we don't have that thick accent. But there's so many dialects throughout just the United States, but even in England. It
Yes.
is like the Cockney accent. I met one a girl that had that accent, and it was wild.
Did she
Because I
talk
know
like
that's the way
that?
she
Like,
grew up.
did you know
Yes, yeah,
anything she said? Well, I've got to tell you, yeah, Duchess is a bit like that.
yeah, nice.
Did you get it? You know, Duchess and yeah, in the voiceover, it wasn't too much because I wanted people to understand me, but
Yeah,
it was pretty Cockney. She is pretty Cockney.
but it's like, is that like an accent? Like where you grew up in London? Is that like
A
you
little
would
bit.
hear that around?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, yeah,
What
yeah.
part of England is that from?
There's different parts. There's like Essex, so it's slightly different. But southeast London is a bit like that. You know, a bit Cockney here and there. You know what I mean, mate? Yeah, a little bit Cockney. But yeah, Duchess is a little bit of that. You'll
Cool.
see.
Nah,
Yeah.
I can't wait. Charlotte, this has been so much fun. Thanks so much for taking the time. It was
Oh, thank you.
fun to learn about you, and
Yeah,
congrats on all the success. Especially that
thank you
I
so
think that
much.
my favorite takeaway from this is that you're like, all right, well, I know what I want to do. I know what kind of movies I want to do, what roles I want to do, and it was like most people, it's like, well, how am I going to get there? But
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
without hesitation, I'm gonna write my roles, the movies that I want to do,
Oh,
and boom,
yeah. Just gotta keep
and
going.
it's worked out.
Just on my
Yeah,
little path, and just keep going, making my movies, and hopefully entertain people. Right?
yeah. Oh, 100%. You definitely do. So
Oh,
thank
thank
you,
you
and yeah,
so
this will
much.
be out soon, and then before the movie comes out, of course. And
Yeah,
thanks
all
again for
the
taking
time.
the time and get some
Of
sleep. It's
course.
so late.
Yes, I'm gonna get some sleep now. Dad, thank you so
Thank you.
much. I'm
Nope.
excited to see the movie as well.